Coming up next on Tech News Today, Snapchat is about to hit the web with its own online magazine. Apple hits yet another roadblock in China that could stop sales of its iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. Your emoji on Twitter is valuable to advertisers. A closer look at differential privacy and free pizza no more. Thanks a lot, T-Mobile. All that and more coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1537, recorded Friday, June 17th, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TNT and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TNT.
And by Zerto, virtual replication and disaster recovery technology that gives you the confidence to keep your business moving forward no matter what comes your way. Zerto empowers you to protect and recover your IT assets, move to the cloud, and know you're ready for anything. Get a free readiness assessment for your data center at confidentcio.com.
And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100 plus job sites, including social networks, all with just one single click. So screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial right now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT.
Oh, hi.
This is Tech News Today. This is the show where we talk passionately and curiously about technology. I'm Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell. Let's see. Okay, here's our challenge, and then let's not actually do it because it might get annoying, but let's see how many fake words we can make up.
Curiosity.
I like it. Should we talk about news instead?
Yes, let's.
Instead of the whole fake word thing? Okay.
Let's use real words only.
Okay. Snapchat. That's a real word, right? Snapchat knows its core users. As such, it wants to direct content at them. It's going to keep them even more engaged than they have been already. That must be the reason behind its new effort, an online magazine that they're calling Real Life. Every weekday, a new article will be published around topics like privacy, beauty, and relationships with a focus on living with technology, topics its users are probably already pretty tuned into. Real Life won't be an in-app experience, but rather a site, meaning this is in some ways Snapchat's kind of experiment away from mobile and into the web itself. Launches officially on June 27th, though the site is up right now, reallifemag.com, with kind of an introductory post to, I guess, give you an idea, give you a sense of what it's going to be. It kind of just looks like a blog to me.
I started looking into it. I mean, right now it looks like a blog. It's very un-Snapchat-like.
Right.
The editor is Nathan Jurgensen. He's a sociologist and a social media theorist, which is fascinating to me because I like to play a social media theorist on TV. He says one of the most interesting things. He says, "I've argued that online and offline, like body and mind, aren't like two positions on a light switch. A perspective I've called digital dualism. Instead, all social life is made of both information and material. It's technological and human, virtual and real."
I think
that just blow your mind?
My brain just exploded right there. Yeah, I was just trying to follow along, to be honest. Well, it's like a social network superposition. Being in two places at one time is basically what it is.
Yeah, I mean, but coming from a company that we've known previously for sending pictures that you want to disappear. That's how they started, whatever pictures those might be. Or, now the filters where you can put a flower crown on or a fox crown, or you can steal someone's, makeup art, and then put that filter on your face. It just is very un-Snapchat-like.
Yeah. And they've been playing around with brands as well inside the app with the stories and kind of, bringing in, I don't know how often the brand aspect is used with, content from Discovery and all the different companies that are feeding information in there. But they have been kind of playing around a little bit with this, like, we're not just a messaging platform. We're also a way for you to stay connected with things. And that seems to be what this is potentially all about. They don't have... It's not monetized necessarily yet, but they do say that, potentially down the line, that might be something that they'll play around with. Also different formats. So right now it's just written word. They could experiment with video and other stuff like that. And I don't know, I would guess if they're experimenting with video, maybe that would have its own channel inside Snapchat so that you can get it through the app instead of just having to be on the web.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like up till now, Snapchat seemed very Southern California to me. And now this whole thing seems very Northern California or East Coast, very just the dualism of social media. I'm excited about it.
I'm curious to know whether you think this next part of kind of like an extension of Snapchat news is Southern California and Northern California. Since we're already talking about Snapchat, we might as well talk about the AR glasses. We spoke about this a few months back. We've kind of heard about it bubbling up here and there. They acquired Vergence Lab secretly back in 2014. Vergence Lab is a company that was building Google Glass-like products. Well, apparently the result of that secret acquisition has been sitting on Snapchat CEO Evan Spiegel's face. We can thank the paparazzi for tracking him to Corsica on vacation, for taking shots that show off the round but still kind of clunky looking glasses that look, I guess, similar to the ones that Vergence was creating. You can even see the little cameras up in the corner on the frames. Photos were taken months before anyone knew a single thing about Snapchat's hardware plans. So, potentially right around the time that the acquisition happened. So maybe this was like a test case thing. But I still don't understand a world where Snapchat releases smart glasses. But social networks, messaging platforms, they're all experimenting in so many different directions. I suppose it's not too far out of the realm of reality.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by the paparazzi pointing to the cameras on the, you're so used to like paparazzi being like, who's he with? Like, how much weight has she lost? But it's, it's the Business Insider tech section paparazzi. It's like, what is that camera on his glasses? What kind of augmented virtual reality is that?
I think I'm better with this kind of paparazzi than the other paparazzi because I'm interested in glasses with cameras. At least I had the Google Glass on my face, so I would like to check this out. I just don't understand how it works in the world of Snapchat, how it actually makes sense in the long run. But
yeah, you're always snapping and receiving snaps.
Always.
I don't
yes.
know. I don't know. And
live video, a new thing. They'll get into live video.
Well, let's move on. Apple has another China problem. The Wall Street Journal reports that the Beijing Intellectual Property Bureau has ruled that the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus violate a design patent of Chinese smartphone maker Shenzhen Bali. Apple has been ordered to stop selling the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus in Beijing, but according to a statement from Apple, sales of the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus have continued since the company has appealed to the administrative order pending review by the Beijing IP court. Now, Shenzhen Bali is a small company, virtually unknown outside of China, and this sort of sounds like a move on the part of the Chinese government that seems more and more threatened by Apple. Engadget has photos of the Shenzhen Bali 100C phone. I don't know if we just looked at those, so we can see how similar the two phones are. There they are if you're watching the video version.
Which looks nothing like an iPhone. But I think a lot of people said the same thing about, the Samsung iPhone thing. I mean, it really is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose, whether, what similarities transfer over and what don't.
Yeah, and the eye of the beholder in this instance is the Chinese government. So I think they're really, Apple is such a popular brand in China, and I think it's beginning to make them nervous. I mean, in April, iBooks and iTunes movies were banned. So I think they're just kind of they're being more strict about what they're allowing.
Apple just recently lost a lawsuit with a leather company that makes luggage in the country that's stamped with iPhone. So, they're getting it from all directions here.
And yesterday we talked about DD, how much money Apple invested in DD, and that sort of seen as a way of, for Apple to say, like, a peace offering. Well, we're going to invest in your company, too. So let us in. Let us sell more iPhones.
Yeah, not to mention Tim Cook visited China back in May for those very same efforts. What I find interesting about this is when you try and look up the brand, the 100C brand or the 100 Plus, I think there's actually video of the 100 Plus that I put in there as well. I was able to find that through a lot of looking. There's no official website for the brand. You said that it was owned by Shenzhen Bali Marketing Services, the full name. CNBC tried to track them down. The phone number that was listed was disconnected. The email that they had failed delivery. Beijing Business Today says from their kind of investigation into this that they don't appear to be a patent troll, but just the fact is they haven't had any new products for a really long time. So I don't know. It is very bizarre, right? It's like this official word that yes, Apple's ripped them off, and we have to stop them selling their product in China, based very loosely on on this company that is practically impossible to find anything about. So one of the things I'm most excited about from Google I/O from a few weeks back is how Android apps are coming to Chrome OS. And it appears Google is wasting no time in making that a reality. It was their plan all along to kind of get this going pretty quickly. Today, they announced that the Asus Chromebook Flip is the first device to gain access to the Play Store. All it requires is for users to get onto the developer channel of Chrome OS, at least for now. That will ultimately push an update to the Flip that's going to include the Play Store on the desktop so that users, can right away basically just access the tons and tons and tons, to put it lightly, of Android apps on their Chromebook. The Asus Flip is a touchscreen device. When I saw this at Google I/O, I was like, I don't know why I would get an Android tablet, because moving forward, I would get one of these Chromebooks that's capable. Unfortunately, my Chromebook Pixel is the earlier one, and it's not going to be capable of doing this, so I'm going to have to upgrade at some point. But they have a huge list of Chromebooks that will be supported by this pretty soon, by the end of the year, basically.
I actually have the Asus Chromebook Flip in my home and have been wanting to use it, but unfortunately I have lost the charger. So as we discussed earlier, I'm going to bring it in to you, Jason. We'll find a charger, and then you can play around with it and show off the Android apps on the Chromebook.
I'm really curious to see it. Everything that I saw at Google I/O, things were super fluid. It didn't look like a hack job. It looked like it would be about as native of an experience as you would want, because that's exactly what it is. There's no emulation or no middleman in the process. It's basically they've figured out how to code it into the Chrome OS to just run it natively. And that just seems like a no-brainer to take a productivity device like a Chromebook Pixel and bring all those Android apps into it. I love that they're pushing this out right away. Actually, the Flip is the first device, but we're going to see it hit the Chromebook R11 and the Google Pixel Chromebook Pixel 2015, so the sequel to my laptop, sometime by the end of July, so very soon, and then a whole list of other devices by the end of the year. I'm excited.
Well, Twitter can now track and deliver ads based on what emoji you use. Advertising Age reports that emoji-based targeting will be available to all advertisers through Twitter's Select Ads API partners. This will start next month, July 17th, which, coincidentally, is World Emoji Day. I'm certainly excited. I don't know how you're going to celebrate World Emoji Day, but Twitter says 110 billion emojis have been tweeted just since 2014. And they say now advertisers can connect with people based on their passions, like what food they eat or what makes them cry while they're laughing, that sort of thing.
What makes them cry while they're laughing? That sounds painful. How do you convey this with an emoji? I guess crying while laughing. There must be one.
That was actually the most popular emoji.
Oh, I see. It's the screenshot on the dang article.
You're too optimistic to use the crying while laughing emoji, but that's the one I use the most. That was I think the word of the year last year in Oxford.
Yeah, you're
dictionary,
right. You're right. Apparently, this just shows how little I actually use emoji in my spare time.
Yeah, you're not a really big emoji user.
I'm more of like a lazy emoticon kind of person. I'm stuck in my old ways, basically, is what it comes down to. But I think this actually makes, when I first read this, I was like, okay, that's really silly. Emoji is such a big deal that we got to start, targeting ads to it. It makes actually a lot of sense. If emoji is an extension of communication, which is exactly what it is, right? It's basically like shorthand. It's like, instead of writing this word, I can, or writing these words to convey a feeling or a meaning, I can just put this picture there and it takes care of it and you move along. If it's shorthand for communication, then why wouldn't you? I guess my main question is how accurate is an emoji of someone putting, a pizza or a hamburger in their message. How accurate is that as a way to to convey to an advertiser, yes, I'm interested in getting that coupon for a pizza. Like, I don't know how that translates.
Well, yeah, they were saying that they already know where you're from. Like, they know where you're tweeting from. So if you're from Chicago and you're tweeting a pizza, then that makes it might be as simple as like, here's an ad for some pizza place nearby you,
right?
But it might be much more complicated. A much more complicated algorithm. I think this is also a way of Twitter saying to here's a way that we can make money. Like just saying we're viable because we know what you're tweeting, and that's another way that advertisers can target the audience. I mean, it's very simply saying a lot of tweets are full of emoji, and you can use that, and that's why we're a valid company.
Or a lot of tweets are full of emoji, and we can't monetize on those tweets right now the way things are. So let's do that.
Yes.
And now suddenly we've opened up the field, and we've got a lot more potential of making money. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think emojis say a lot about a person, personally. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that you don't even know what the crying while laughing emoji,
what does that say about me?
I don't know, but advertisers know, and they're going to start putting ads directly towards you.
If anyone knows, it's the advertisers.
Yeah, email us at tnt@twit.tv if you know what makes Jason special about not using the crying while laughing emoji.
I'm afraid.
What ads would you send to Jason because he doesn't even know what the crying while laughing emoji is? Email us. So all this week, I have been waiting patiently for someone to explain Apple's new buzz phrase, differential privacy. Bryan Clark from the Next Web is here to save the day. But first, let's take a minute to thank our sponsor, Wealthfront. Now, you invest for the long term. You should, for your family's financial health or for your financial health. If you try to do it all by yourself, especially if you want to do it the right way, it's complex, consumes a lot of your time. But luckily, there's Wealthfront. Traditional advisors charge huge fees between 1% and 3% of what they manage. But with Wealthfront, you pay 1/4% a year. That's 25 basis points, 0 commissions, and no hidden fees. That's less than $5 a month to invest a $30,000 account. There are no additional charges for any of Wealthfront's services. You can get started investing today with as little as $500. So unlike other financial advisors, Wealthfront will not bog you down with dozens and dozens of questions. They have simplified their risk identification process, which allows you to begin investing sooner. It only takes a few minutes to sign up at wealthfront.com. It goes right to work monitoring your portfolios around the clock and takes action as soon as an opportunity arises. Wealthfront portfolios are based on modern portfolio theory, and they're designed to adjust according to your personal risk tolerance while staying diversified and tax efficient. Wealthfront is transparent and accessible. You can view and track all your accounts in one place. And now Wealthfront can track both your Wealthfront and your non-Wealthfront bank and brokerage accounts that they will provide in a summary of all your assets. You can see every trade that Wealthfront makes on your behalf, in your dashboard, on your desktop, or with their mobile app. Wealthfront manages almost $3 billion in client assets, and it's growing rapidly every day. So what are you waiting for? Invest in your future today with Wealthfront. Visit wealthfront.com/TNT to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. You'll see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for Twit listeners, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge. And that's for life. So join many Twit fans who have seen huge success with Wealthfront and claim your offer today at wealthfront.com/TNT.
All right, so earlier this week at Apple's WWDC keynote, we heard a bit about differential privacy. Bryan Clark from the Next Web is joining us to tell us a bit about why it's such a big deal, even though most seem to kind of gloss over it a little bit. Welcome, Bryan.
Hey, I feel like you're setting everyone up for disappointment when Megan said that I was here to save the day.
It's okay. I did notice that you did not put your cape on, and that's all right. We'll forgive you this time. But
I was hoping we could shoot a little further down the hole a little and say that I'm just not going to confuse everyone.
Right. Okay. You're not. You're going to make us a little less confused.
I'm going to try.
Okay. So maybe
works.
we'll get to the emoji with no mouth. To that state? Can we get to that state if we speak in emoji? That's where I'd like to get on differential privacy.
Right now I'm at the crying tears emoji, but Jason doesn't know what that is.
It's true. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out again. I appreciate that. So first things first, what exactly is differential privacy and how is Apple integrating it into its platform?
Okay. In my opinion, differential privacy is probably the most important announcement that Apple made at WWDC. It's also probably the one that we're covering the least. It's not as sexy as emoji, unfortunately, but I think it has a huge impact on how we're going to use mobile phones moving forward. It's a cryptographic method that's a lot like encryption, but it gives Apple the ability to kind of peer behind the curtain and extract some of this data. So there's two things you have to understand. One, Apple is going to be using more of our data than ever before. And in order to make everyone okay with that, they kind of have to throw out something like this, differential privacy, to make them realize they're not going to be misusing it. It's kind of complex, but it's the best way to sum it up would be to say it's two data sets, one with your data, one without your data. And then by comparing the two, we're able to glean a little bit of information out of it without really divulging a user's identity. So we all know it's coming. So Megan, the day you get fed up with Jason and you decide to come work at the next web, Apple can determine your salary at Tech News Today by comparing, say, a spreadsheet from when you were at Tech News Today compared to the one right after you left Tech News Today. And the difference will be your salary. Mm-hmm. So that leaves two really big problems, though. The first one is that if you don't add noise to each entry that a user contributes to this data set, it's really easy to isolate a user and figure out who added the data. So that's the first problem. The second problem is if this user information ever leaks, you really have to kill the database and start all over. If you're not willing to do that, then you're compromising everyone that's in the database and you can reveal their information.
And this oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say this approach is not isolated to just Apple, right? This is. I mean, are others using this right now?
We don't really hear about it. I think the reason that we're hearing about it so much now is because Apple knows that they need a lot of this data in order to kind of progress the machine learning and artificial intelligence that we're all going to come to know and love. Mm-hmm. It's going to make for a better user experience, but the problem is we're more privacy conscious than ever. So this is kind of their way of getting everyone on board with it.
So is it different than just anonymized data? I mean, that's what we sort of always hear when, you know, that the things that we're entering online are anonymized. Is this different than that?
Yes and no. I mean, it's still anonymized data. The difference is what a lot of companies do with your anonymous data is they can't reveal who you are. So I don't know that Jason's looking for the best pizza in New York City. I do know that someone is, but it's anonymous. So what differential data does is it allows you to use the data in aggregate without revealing any individual user. So when someone contributes to this data set, it adds to it, and by comparing them, we can get signals that are usable without actually revealing who they are, so that they're not put in user profiles, which is what a lot of other companies use.
So do you think this is more of a marketing ploy on Apple's part, just like a differentiating them from Google? Saying, you know, just throwing a phrase out there like differential privacy, which you said wasn't their creation, but like maybe they are the ones making it, you know, a household phrase for some of us anyway. Do you think it's just a marketing tool for them, or is it a real thing that we can count on and look into and see that they're doing it differently than Google?
It's too early to tell, but Apple's always really been a champion for user privacy. So at this point, I tend to side with them when they bring something out like this, that it's not a marketing ploy. It's something they're genuinely wanting to protect us with.
Are there downsides to this approach?
Yeah, if it's done wrong, it can reveal the data that they're trying not to. But Apple's taking steps to prevent that too. So like I said earlier, by adding noise to each signal that you're adding to the database, it keeps you from finding individual users. And then the other problem is if the database becomes compromised, you have to kill it. So what Apple's doing to protect users is they're controlling how much data a single user can contribute to a database. So rather than just tracking everything you do on your smartphone, they're tracking, like Jason's example, looking for pizza. And it's just contributing to that one small database. And then periodically, they're going to wipe these databases and then start anew with new users contributing. So all of the data that has been collected before is going to be wiped out, basically, and new users will contribute the same data. And that keeps them from having to run into situations like with the FBI, where they might have had to turn over user data because now they just don't have it.
Right. And I think that's a big priority for Apple at this point, you know, in their pursuit of security, is to just make it so that they are removed from the equation as much as possible. So moving on to a different story, actually, you wrote a story about a small town in Idaho that I've actually never heard of. I'm a Boise native, so I was amazed. Like, it's like, wait a minute, I've never heard of the town of Amon, Idaho. Population almost 14,000. They're doing things a little bit differently when it comes to how it manages the ISPs that serve the area. What's different here?
Actually, I was coming on knowing that you were from Boise, and I was going to ask you how to pronounce the name, but
dang it. I wish I could tell you.
He knew you were from Boise because of the emoji, probably.
I probably learned, he's a marketer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From my experience as a reporter, I know that nobody in Boise knows anything about emoji.
That's smart. It's smart. Not accurate, but it's smart. So what are they doing differently here?
Basically, the city created a full fiber network for the citizens of Ammon, and they're kind of leasing it out to ISPs. And each ISP now has to compete for business because all of the residents can shut off service, switch to a different service. And they say that it's about as simple as disabling or removing an app and installing a new one. So if you're ever fed up with like a universally hated ISP like Comcast, you could really easily just stop and go to a new one.
So why this small town? I mean, why are they doing it and not every place? I guess how are they doing it?
Yeah.
Mainly because Idaho is the tech center of the world.
That's true. Very true, especially like eastern near Idaho Falls, Idaho. Definitely, totally tech center. Yeah.
The gist of it was that they started to do a project where they wanted to install a fiber line from one government building to another government building within the city, and it was just some stupid high ridiculous quote that they were getting, like $80,000 plus a monthly maintenance fee just for connecting two buildings. So they decided, we could build this entire network and we can kind of just give it a try and see if this can work. So it's kind of a testing ground, a proving ground, and it's going on in Idaho, which kind of surprised me too.
And financial incentive for the town itself, do they potentially gain from this kind of setup?
At some point. Right now, they're taxing each user $10 to $15 a month. The goal is to get $3,000 from each user over a 20-year span using the tax and a $16.50 utility fee. So at some point, assuming this works, they will become profitable for it.
Very interesting.
And then I will move there.
I was going to say, I might have to move back to Idaho then.
I think we'll all move there. Can we share a bedroom?
Exactly. Yeah, we could all room together. It'll be fun. Bryan Clark from The Next Web. Really appreciate you coming on and talking with us about not one, but two stories today. It was our pleasure having you on today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, where can people follow your work online other than thenextweb.com? Your Twitter?
NextWeb, Twitter at Bryan Clark, Facebook, Hey Bryan Clark. That should get just about all of my work.
Excellent. Thanks again, Bryan. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Bryan.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
See ya.
Well, Christopher Buckner writes about our discussion last night about Watch Dogs 2. He writes, firstly, let me start out by stating that I am a black man. I hate that it comes to this, but it seems people read sexism, racism into every criticism these days. He says the first Watch Dogs game was a flop because the developer, Ubisoft, rushed the game before it was 100% ready. Watch Dogs 2 should be viewed with scrutiny for that alone, and I don't believe Ubisoft should be let off the hook just because they made the main character black. If you have to vote with your wallet if you want the paradigm to change, and if you can't get it to change, then maybe there isn't really a problem to begin with. After all, there are plenty of games with diverse characters. These games come out all the time. So we also got a few other emails about this topic. Thanks to everyone for writing in and posting comments on YouTube as well. I know sometimes we use the term gaming community to label an entire group of people, and I want to stop doing that. I want to be doing that. I know it's a diverse community, and I know we've talked before about like whether we talk about gamers being one way or that that way, and yeah.
Coming up next, do you want a fuel cell plug-in hybrid, possibly made by Apple? We'll kind of dive into that a little bit. But before that, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode. That's Zerto. It's IT asset protection, disaster recovery, and cloud continuity for confident CIOs. Confidence can make or break businesses in today's IT world. It can mean the difference between hesitation and action, success or irrelevance. Zerto's cloud-based business continuity solutions arm today's CIOs and IT pros with the confidence to know their systems are ready for anything. With Zerto, you can recover from downtime, you can test new technology and move to the cloud in a matter of clicks, and you'll be maintaining business continuity in the process. Zerto's virtual replication technology gives you the power to simplify your migrations, switch to new infrastructure faster, and get quicker ROI in a matter of clicks. You'll know your data is protected by breakthrough hypervisor-based software that puts the power of continuous replication at your fingertips. You migrate to the cloud with no disruptions, with enterprise-class software that empowers you to seamlessly and safely move virtualized workloads between public, private, and hybrid clouds. You'll get complete, comprehensive data protection in one smart solution for BCDR, and you'll recover from any disruption with checkpoints every few seconds along the way. Protect and recover files, virtual machines, and applications from any point in time. All sorts of protection here. See for yourself how Zerto simplifies your data replication and your disaster recovery. Plus, get a free readiness assessment for your data center. All you got to do is go to confidentcio.com. That's confidentcio.com. And we thank Zerto for their support of Tech News Today.
It is time to talk about cars, and we are excited to welcome back expert and senior analyst from Navigant Research, Sam Abuelsamid. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, Megan and Jason. How are you today?
I'm doing good. We were hoping you would come up with a green screen for those people watching the video, and you came through.
You came through.
Thank you.
That's one of Ford's prototype self-driving Fusions from a test they were doing a few months ago at their Arizona proving grounds, where they ran the car at night in complete darkness and complete lights out mode. So they had gone around during the daytime and used the LiDAR to map out the whole track and figure out where all the landmarks are, where basically where all the cactus were, so that they could use those to locate the vehicle in the dark using the LiDAR. And then they ran it around the track with the lights out and all the instruments covered up, so there was no lights inside the vehicle or anything, and they just ran it around the track.
Well, it looks a little bit like it's about to drive into you. It's not, is it?
It's parked. No. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's parked. It's turned off right now.
All right. Well, last week in Germany, Mercedes-Benz announced plans to introduce the GLC F-Cell in 2017, a fuel cell plug-in hybrid. The electric motor at the rear axle will get current from a combination of a 9 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery and a hydrogen fuel cell. You're going to have to explain that to me. Also, this started you conjecturing about Apple's future plans. So that's what we want to talk about. Can you unpack this for us a little bit? What's exciting about this car, and what does it make you think about in terms of what Apple might do?
Well, first of all, with regard to Apple, as you said, it's complete conjecture. I have no information about anything specific that Apple's doing, and it's just one of those times when I started thinking and a bunch of dots started appearing, and so I decided to write something that connected them, but with nothing to back it up. So as far as, first of all, fuel cell, hydrogen or fuel cell is basically a device that you put in this case, hydrogen and oxygen, and it reacts with a catalyst and produces electricity and water. So it converts the hydrogen and oxygen into water and electricity. And so a fuel cell vehicle like this Mercedes or the Toyota Mirai are electric vehicles. They're not battery electric vehicles, but they are electric vehicles. And they use an electric motor to propel the vehicle. And in this case, what Mercedes has done is they're using a smaller fuel cell stack and also a smaller battery to make a plug-in hybrid fuel cell. And what that does, because they're using the battery, fuel cells like to operate in a constant output mode. They don't like to fluctuate up and down like your engine does when you're driving around. And so they're more efficient if you can run them at constant speed, and then you can use a smaller fuel cell. It's less expensive. So what Mercedes has done is they've combined it with a lithium-ion battery that gives them about 25 hours or 25 miles of driving range just on the battery. And then the battery is good at putting out power when you need to accelerate and recapturing it when you're braking. So it takes the peaks, and the fuel cell handles the constant load that's going on in the car while you're driving.
So you heard about this, and then it made you think about a project that Ford did almost a decade ago that you got to see that was shelved. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so back in at the 2007 Detroit Auto Show, Ford showed a concept there that they called the Airstream, which was a minivan, and it was called the Airstream because it was aluminum. It had a polished aluminum body. There it is. Look, it was inspired by the classic Airstream van or trailers, and it had a very similar type of powertrain architecture, a fuel cell and a plug-in hybrid battery system. This concept, the Airstream concept, ran, but it didn't actually use the fuel cell powertrain. Like most concept vehicles, you have a spec sheet and what they say is in the concept, but to make the concept move, it just had a regular engine. However, a few months before they showed this concept, they actually did build a prototype Ford Edge, one of their crossovers, their midsize crossover utility, with that fuel cell hybrid powertrain in it. And I had they showed it off at the Washington Auto Show a couple of weeks after they showed the Airstream. And then a couple of weeks after that, I did get a chance to go for a drive with that car around Dearborn. So I drove that vehicle around for about an hour around Dearborn. And the Ford engineer that gave me the lowdown on this vehicle and gave me a tour of their fuel cell lab in Dearborn was a gentleman named Emoji-based. He was the manager of Ford's fuel cell engineering program at the time. And at the time, Ford was planning to build a fleet of maybe 100 of these for pilot testing to put into the hands of regular consumers and drive them around and gain experience with it. Well, of course, 2007 into 2008, we all know what happened with the economy, and so there wasn't much extra money around to fund these sorts of projects, so the project got killed. The concept of the fuel cell hybrid did come back with a couple of other manufacturers. With Audi, they showed one a couple of years ago. Now Mercedes is putting the GLC in production. But Emoji-based left Ford around 2009. He went to A123 Systems, which is a lithium-ion battery maker, as their CTO. And then in early last year, early 2015, his name popped up again in my news feeds when Apple was sued by A123 Systems for poaching a bunch of their employees for what we found out shortly after that was Project Titan, their car program. Apple has never publicly spoken about what Project Titan is, but based on the people associated with it, we all believe that they're developing a car. And Emoji-based, I reached out to him. I've exchanged a couple of emails with him, but he's never spoken about what's going on at Apple. He's maintained radio silence in proper Apple fashion. And so this story, I just kind of tied all these things together as one possibility of what could potentially happen with Apple, with an Apple car.
And you also talk about how you think Apple might get into the mobility on demand service. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So one of the things that we're projecting, and a lot of people are projecting happening over the next 20, 30, 40 years, is that as we have more and more people around the world moving into urban areas. In 2014, for the first time, we had more than half the world's population living in cities. We now have 41 so-called megacities that have populations of more than 10 million people. And as we have more and more of these megacities around the world, particularly in Asia, but also even here in the U.S. and Europe, the problem of urban congestion is going to be a bigger and bigger problem. And so electric vehicles are great in terms of dealing with the air quality problem, but they don't do anything about congestion. And so what we're all projecting, what most of us are projecting, is that in cities, you'll have fewer and fewer people actually owning individual vehicles, and it'll be a migration towards autonomous electric vehicles that you can summon on demand, sort of what Uber and Lyft have been talking about. And we think that in most urban areas, from the 2030s onwards, most vehicles are going to be of that type. So people won't own vehicles; they'll just have a vehicle that shows up when they need it. And I think that if Apple does get into the car business, which I'm still not convinced they will, but if they do, that's a model that would actually make more sense for them, because one of the problems that they would have is, like Tesla, Apple would not want to deal with the franchise dealer system that we have here in the U.S., where they're not allowed to, in most states in the U.S. car makers are not allowed to sell cars directly to consumers. They have to go through franchise dealers. And that's a long story we won't get into. But that's why Teslas are only allowed to be sold directly to consumers in about 20 states. And Apple, I don't think, would want to get into that kind of scenario. So if they went to a mobility on demand model where basically, you pay a subscription fee and you would have access to an Apple car and sort of a car sharing type of program, but with more premium vehicles, they would own the vehicles. They don't have to worry about actually selling them. And they could do it in limited locations where you've got more affluent customers that would be willing to pay a premium price for access to Apple cars.
So in that future vision of yours, where does Tesla fit in? I mean, those are cars that are pretty relatively advanced in self-driving technologies, but seems to me always will be a car that some person wants to own as their own. Where do they fit in?
Yeah, I think Tesla is definitely moving in that same direction. That's why they're working so hard on developing autopilot. They want to get to a point where they can have autonomous vehicles. Elon Musk has talked about this mobility on demand type of model, where instead of individual owners owning Tesla vehicles, they would essentially subscribe to a Tesla service and have access to a vehicle whenever they need it. So, they would open up their app or on their smartwatch, they could summon a vehicle and it would be there and take them to where they need to go, and then it would go off and pick up someone else.
So another reason to get a Tesla while you can, so that you might be the last person to be able to own your own Tesla.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll probably still be able to buy a Tesla for a long time to come. It's just, probably the bulk of their sales will shift to that kind of model. And then that also gets them around the whole problem of not being able to sell direct to consumers.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. It's always enlightening to hear what you have to say. Sam Abuelsamid is a contributor at Ford's and a senior analyst with Navigant Research. Where's the best place for people to follow your work online?
You can just check Google my name. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me through navigantresearch.com and also find the work that my colleagues do there, the syndicated research reports that we publish, and the custom research that we do. And like I said, just Google my name and you'll find me in all the other places like my blog and on Forbes and Facebook and Google Plus and Twitter and all those places.
Man, it's like you own the internet.
I try to be everywhere.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. TNT's fan of the day is Sandra Pirtle at SL Pirtle on Twitter, who says, I was watching on my iPhone. Now I'm listening to 1464 again on Echo after Megan triggered it. And I'm assuming there's like a thank you very much that didn't make it into the tweet. But yeah, you did that, Megan.
What? Just by saying, Alexa, play Tech News Today on TuneIn? Just by saying that?
Yeah, just by saying that.
By saying Echo, play Tech News Today on TuneIn, because you might have changed your name to trigger word to Echo.
So now what you've done is triggered everyone that has one. You're covering your bases, aren't you? You're smart. You're smart. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT, whether you wanted to listen to it or whether we played it for you. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it.
After the break, if you switch to T-Mobile for free pizza, we have got some news that could be potentially devastating. But first, let's take a minute to thank ZipRecruiter, the sponsor of this episode. Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your jobs to find the best candidates? If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your jobs on all the top job sites, and with ZipRecruiter, now you can. Posting jobs in one place isn't enough to find quality candidates. Don't leave this up to chance. Hiring is the most important thing you do in a day if you're hiring someone. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to more than 100 job boards, including social media networks like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, all with a single click. Just post once and watch your candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. ZipRecruiter offers optimized pages that look great on any screen. Add their unique mobile apply process for more visitors and applicants. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide, so no more juggling emails or calls to your office. You can add multiple users to your account, quickly screen candidates with real-world questions using free-form, multiple choice, or yes/no formats. View candidate responses in conjunction with their beautifully formatted resumes. Rate them and hire the right person fast. We just hired our new editor using ZipRecruiter. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 800,000 businesses. More than 100 million candidate applications have been delivered. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today.
So you remember how T-Mobile had its Un-carrier event and announced the subscribers would get a new perk called T-Mobile Tuesdays that would shower them with free Frosty Dairy desserts, movie rentals, tickets to Warcraft, and free pizza. We can strike free pizza from that list, at least until T-Mobile finds another partner. Apparently, Domino's saw so much demand that it has decided to pull out of the promotion for good. CEO of T-Mobile, John Legere, blamed Domino's and published their internal memo that explained the move. The memo basically admitted that it put a ton of stress on the stores. They had to, there were limits built into this, right? Not every store didn't have to grant every single free pizza order that came through. I think they were limited to like 100 per store or something like that. But I mean, just think about that alone, right? Like take your normal orders on a Tuesday and then add 100 on top of that, potentially. Domino's saw 3 to 4 times the normal volume for Tuesdays and just said it was too much pressure to put on the franchises.
Part of me wonders if this was all like a plan by John Legere, like just to say, oh, look how many T-Mobile subscribers there are. Like he had I can't believe he's only blaming Domino's. Like he has to blame himself too. Like those are numbers that you would know. Like you would know how many people would probably take advantage of this. And if you don't, then you don't know enough information about the people that use your service. I'm mad when someone takes away free pizza, and I wasn't even getting any free pizza.
Yeah, and you don't even like pepperoni pizza.
I don't even like pepperoni
especially
pizza.
pepperoni that curls up on the edges.
Don't talk to me about the little pepperonis. I think you can't offer someone free pizza and take it away. I know he's looking for someone else, but what's everyone going to do on Tuesday? I'm fed up. We can't take this anymore.
Yeah. Well, there were some holes here. One of the things that we learned, just now actually, and I didn't realize this before, and maybe this was something that was a big oversight, is that with T-Mobile, if you were on a family plan, they would allow you to claim 1 pizza for every line on your family plan, not 1 pizza per account. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that would necessarily affect the total number of pizzas that a particular location might have to give out. Like they're probably going to tap it out anyways because there are a lot of T-Mobile subscribers that probably cashed in on this. Kara, I know you had a couple of free pizzas as a result. Yeah, Kara is the one that told me that it didn't only apply to postpaid, that it actually applied to prepaid. I was like, oh, okay. So I tried it out. I downloaded it on Tuesday. I had my finger hovering over the get the pizza button, and I just kind of realized, actually, I don't want it. So why do I feel like obligated? Like I have to get this free pizza today. So I saved you a little bit of headache, Domino's. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. I don't like this at all.
Is it bad for the brand? What do you think?
I don't know.
To give something and then take it away?
I think so. I mean, they also gave stock. Are they going to take that away if too many people take them up on their offer for free stock?
That would be a bigger story, I think.
Yeah, probably would.
All right. Well, that's it. We'll stop talking about pizza. Pizza was like a recurring theme this evening. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 12 a.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. You can also leave us a short voicemail about pizza at 260-TNT-SHOW. And you can find us on Twitter. We are at Tech News Today TV.
We are on Google Play Music for our Android friends, iTunes for our Apple friends, Chromecast, Apple TV, so much more. Find all the ways to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me, I am at Megan Morrone. Send some emoji.
And I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole, and Mario for running the prompter, and all the folks who help us run this show every single day. Thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all on Monday. Bye, everyone. And I even said tomorrow, probably.